Alright, as I said, super easy. Line up all the little holes first, then push down really slowly, and then bolt it in. Obviously, it was a little bit harder than that. It took me all of 10 minutes instead of 5. But yeah, you line up the holes. You get each one in its proper hole first, or right over it. Then you slowly push down, kind of going between this side and pressure. Try and get a little bit in the center as well for these two. Until they come down, line up the dowel pins, push down even further, and then tighten them down, snug them up. I'm not really sure if there's a torque rating. I just got them as tight as I could with a wrench. If it leaks, it's not like it's going to be the end of the world if I have to take that upper intake back off after everything I've already done. But yeah, that's that. Alright, so I just got this last bit of EGR on. That was the final missing thing I had. Finally got it in. I'm going to see if I can get the timing chain on today, or timing cover on today. As you can see, I got this weird little block thing with a wire hooked up to it. That is to keep it tensioned while I have this thing up on shims. The method I'm doing this on is off of another YouTuber. Name is Ron Williams, I believe. And he did this on his 22R. I'm on a 22R-E, but it's the same engine. So yeah, you want to figure out how to do this? I best suggest you go to his video. He explained it pretty well until his GoPro died, and he never made a follow-up video. It's a bummer, but got the important stuff. As for the guide timing things, I did not see anyone else mention that. You're going to want this one to be as far in as possible, and you want this one to be as far out. So like, these guides have little swivel joints on them. If yours do too. You want passenger side to be out to provide the most slack. You want driver's side to be in to provide the least slack. Obviously, as you can see, I followed, as I said, Ron Williams. He made a little block here, about 1.5 inches long, just to keep that tensioner in their place. And then when you're done, you can pull it out with a string. Honestly, pretty ingenious on his part. I don't know if you got it from someone else, but yeah, thank you, Ron Williams, for posting that video and showing us how to do this. I might link it in the description if I remember. Okay, so guidance here came over and thankfully told me that I was doing literally everything wrong. So,
alright, get that button.
The wooden block is not supposed to be 1.5 inch. It is supposed to be 1.25. At least it is for us. Timing was more or less right. Swapped out the stock ones for the stock bolts or hardware for the new ones. Got some lock washers in there. We had to trim this thing so that the head wasn't sitting on the guide. So trimmed that down a little bit. What else was I doing wrong?
Oh, you had the caps in the wrong spot.
Ah, yeah,
Cam caps.
Cam caps were in the wrong spots. You're going 1, 2, 3, not 3, 2, 1 like how I had it. Yeah, you're going 1, 2, 3 from front to rear of the engine. Yeah. So as I said, literally everything was wrong. Thankfully, I have guidance. We now have, what is this stuff? Some kind of gasket sealant.
It's like black tar.
Black tar. Put it on one side of the gasket. The side of the gasket facing the engine block. Oh yeah, my head wasn't actually clean. Or the block itself wasn't as clean as it should have been. So I took a wire wheel to it. Cleaned it up properly. Just another thing I did wrong. Hopefully you learn from my mistakes. But yeah, that's where we are now. Alright. What's this stuff called again?
It's Permatech something.
Permatech.
But it's like black tar. It does. It gets on everything. part number 50. There, gasket dressing liquid.
That's Loctite. So it never dries, and...
I wouldn't say never, but it will with the heat of the motor.
Gotcha. But like if you screw something up, you can still take it back off.
You can take it back off.
So really handy. Alright, so we got that black tar stuff on the back of the timing cover.
You got a bad spot on your gasket, so I'm gonna put this here.
Yeah. I think they also wanted us to put a bit on that top corner.
Yeah. Alright, put some in there.
Alright.
Put a few in there so we can tighten that down so we can put the head on.
Yeah. Let me pull up that schematic.
Drying.
Alright, so we somehow managed to get past my terrible organizational skills, and we've made it to this point. Your bottom bolts for the cover are going to be your brackets. Oh, you can see. AC bracket and the alternator bracket are going to be those bolts, those 14mm bolts. I am missing 3 from the looks of it, so we're going to have to find those. We're currently working on the head and getting it cinched.
Jay, you got a 17?
Yeah.
I think it's a 17.
Should I get a wrench, or are we going to do this by elbow too?
No, we're going to do it.
Alright. Oh wait, it's sliding back off.
You got the impact ready?
Oh crap.
Jay, you ain't got the impact ready.
Okie dokie. So, got that thing cinched down with the impact gun. I just had to make sure that we had the cam itself lined up pretty well. Yeah, we got it lined up, placed on there roughly. It was really tight. Then used the impacts to get it all the way down. Yeah. Oh, we also pulled out that block thing sitting over there. Looking good. Alright, and then go up to 58.
No, 58?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to 40 and then I'll end it at 60.
Alright.
Sketch. Recheck torque 40.
Do you have like a torque wrench checker?
Torque wrench checker? Nah. Snap-on truck does.
Yeah. Do you have another torque wrench we could check with, or
No.
No. Hmm.
Alright. Is your butter out here digging off?
Oh, he's burning.
Burning already?
Yeah. Guess Mom got some more packages or something. Had to burn it.
Well, I'm going to turn it down to 55.
55?
He said 58.
Yeah, that one's 58.
I'll do it 58. Yeah, that's sketch.
Yeah, it's really sketchy. Alright. This is like when you play Russian roulette.
Thank God I didn't go to 60. And them bolts feel like they're stretching like hell. Man, that one popped easy.
This easily beats any horror movie. Any, like, suspense thriller.
Jesus. Yeah, that's man, that was terrible.
Do they normally all pop at different intervals?
Yeah, I'm not turning each one exactly the same, so.
Is that normal?
Yeah, because my stroke right here is short, so I'm doing it multiple times.
Gotcha. Two more, right?
Yeah. See, that one was easy. The one next to it took forever.
Okay.
I know you got a bolt in the center here,
Oh,
but you
crap.
can't get to.
Well, it would have been nice to remember that earlier.
I did remember it earlier, but I was trying to put this on. But I don't know what bolt goes in there. You have to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
The
to check
only way
that
you can
back.
probably get that in there is you need to fish it in there, then get a socket with a swivel on it, maybe?
I don't have any. Well, I might have a U-joint.
Yeah, that's what a swivel is.
Oh.
A U-joint.
Just check them all again. They should make a suspense horror thriller about this kind of thing. Sometimes, like, one scene has head bolts and the other one has coilovers. The scariest scene is probably going to be the coilovers. Trying to do it with like a Harbor Freight compressor.
Oh, my boss man did it with rope.
Rope?
Oh man, I couldn't believe it. They had it compressed, and then he took rope and just ran it through the spring, and then they took the nut off of the.
He's got balls.
Dude, them rope was tired and shit, dude. That shit was like about to pop. I was like, man,
He had some
I
faith.
wouldn't do that crap.
He had some faith in that rope, huh? Okay, so we, and by we I mean Tony, have gone and crushed these all back down. The previous someone went and pulled those kinda a bit, tightened it down too much. So we took a hammer and some sockets and straightened it all back out. We, again, Tony, is currently putting down our TV. Or, I think that's our TV, right?
Gasket maker, yeah.
Gasket maker. After the gasket maker, we will put down our gasket cork, and then we will put more gasket maker on top of the cork gasket, and then carefully put it in. And it will then be bolted down. Actually, I should probably clean the hardware now. Okay, so it is very dark. I decided to work into the night a little bit, try to get this exhaust on. Obviously, I've done a lot more than get the exhaust on. As you can see, it's actually down on the ground. So I went ahead and got under there, routed the wires for the transmission back and further back there. Got those plugged back in. Reconnected the idler. That thing right there. Again, 3 17mm bolts and nuts. Three 17mm bolts, 2 nuts. I also got this damper back on. Again, really easy. And you can also see the cross member in there. Really easy. So that's why I didn't bother to record it. That, and also because I didn't think to. Anyway. Yeah. I got this thing on with the gaskets. I had to modify the gaskets slightly. I had to trim the bottom a bit because it wouldn't clear the exhaust. So you might have to do that too. Just get a little bit of it wire cutters. Trim just a little bit off the very bottom. That way it can clear. And mount. EGR is coming out through here. Nice and good. Hopefully that'll mount up to the bottom of the intake pretty good. Is there a shape here that looks a bit familiar? If you guessed this shape, you'd be correct. I figured that this would be an individual gasket. All the gaskets I was looking at, all the different EGR stuff. Most of the EGR stuff is that kind of lead gasket. Well, as you know, I have already spent money buying that gasket, and I even installed it. So, apparently I did have it, and it was just part of that. I wish I'd known that. But hey, we all make mistakes. Now, hopefully you'll learn from mine. Hopefully I'll remember to put a little caption when I'm recording that section, me putting that on there to say, don't buy this. If you got the same kit as me, it probably came with your intake. But, well, that's where I am now. I like that gasket. I prefer it just because it is that lead gasket that is generally meant for the EGR stuff. And I'm going to cut off that part, and I'll see you when I do that. Alright, it is 5 minutes later with a cut intake gasket. Now, please, again, as I said, I don't really like that I have to do this. I wouldn't recommend it. But what I did was I cut straight through, as you can see that hole, and then went straight down. Obviously, I still had to make some very minor cuts, very small ones, to get it to clear that. And you want it to just barely clear it, mainly because of the fact that you want as much gasket material outside as possible, if you can help it. Again, if you're getting the same kit as me, you won't have to do this. Just remember not to, well, do what I did. I'm making this so that you don't make the same mistakes that I do. Okay, I made another mistake because I'm stupid. This coolant hose right here, this thing runs around the back of the cylinder head block, just around the back of everything. And it comes up with a rubber hose into this. Put this in first. Put this in first. Because it'll be much easier to get through. I am stupid. I forgot where it was. So I forgot about it entirely. And then I opened it up so I could get some hardware out of here, and I saw it and I was like, ah, crap. But yeah, put this weird looking thing in first, then put in the intake, the lower intake. This thing's gonna bolt into the bottom. It's got a little rubber O-ring. Let me actually see if I got a gasket for it though. Okay, another tidbit of information. This pipe does not have a gasket, but also it goes in before the CGR thing as well, because there is a cavern back there that you can see, and it's supposed to go in underneath it. So just another thing I wish I'd known, but I know now. Don't make the same mistakes as me. I'm going to be putting at the very beginning of this video, you know, I'm not a professional. Do not follow step by step because I make a lot of mistakes. Okay, so turns out you're still going to have to do some other stuff to get this freaking coolant crap in. It has been about an hour fighting with this thing. So it's actually supposed to come around through that cavity and underneath this bracket for the fuel filter. I had to remove some of the bolts for this bracket as well as the fuel filter, as you can see, to get it in there. So yeah, just be aware of that. You might have to do the same, I don't know. Maybe there's some secret finagling fishing trick that I didn't know about. Maybe there's not. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care as long as that stupid thing is in. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put all this crap back together. Okay, surprise, surprise. I made another mistake. This time with the wiring harness. Wiring harness. I looked at some of my older pictures because I was trying to figure out where wires went. It actually goes through there. So I need to go ahead and figure out how to get that to happen again. I'll let you guys know when I actually do it. Okay, so as you can see, I have undone literally everything in all my progress over the past couple days. Even the EGR. Well, that is because of a handful of reasons. I really thought about how this is supposed to go together. I have disconnected all the wires from down there because the wiring harness is supposed to go through the intake. So, and then the EGR, that isn't actually supposed to go onto the upper intake and then bolt onto there. Or at least I assume so, because there's literally no clearance for it otherwise, for the gasket to slip in there and the holes still line up. So, yeah, as you can see, I got all the wiring spaghetti pulled back out. It looks like a few days ago. It's back to essentially square one on the intake manifold, and even further back because of the EGR. But we're here. Current order of operations is lower intake without fuel rail. Put that on. I bolt on this coolant hose and the EGR. That side of the EGR. This bottom thing. That thing. Bolt that to that. And then I put on the fuel rail and tighten it to that. Actually, no, I think I'm going to do the wiring first. I'll do the wiring before the fuel rail. I will, once I get the wiring hooked back up, then I will put on the fuel rail and reconnect it to the fuel filter. And then I'll bring in the upper intake. And then I'll deal with that when I get to that. Okay, so I just got done rebuilding everything I did and wasting an hour. You're going to want to pull literally all of your wiring harness out from the bottom. Pull it up through, all the way, pull it out of the way. Install your intake. Put in the wiring harness. And then put on the fuel rail and connect it to the fuel filter. That is what I just did. Took about an hour. I'm just glad it didn't take any longer. But now I'm pretty much back where I was. Okay, so when I was taking all this apart, I had already kind of videoed where everything went. Like this is throttle position sensor, so it goes in the throttle body. Green goes with green, black goes with black. That goes to the AC. That goes there. You know, each injector goes to a specific place, and I was able to identify, yeah, this is that right one for the injector. But I realized that I never actually got like a really good shot of everything as it should be and how it should sit. So I was able to find a few shots that kind of told me where everything went and belonged, but they weren't good. So for your guys' sake, I'm going to go ahead and give you that. This is what it's supposed to look like. You know, this is where everything is supposed to go. I really wish I could get this, you know, this wiring harness to stretch out just a little bit more. If I cut that a bit, because, I mean, I still need to get the upper intake to clear properly. But I think that's just going to be moseying everything down a bit. I'll record again for that, but that's how that's supposed to look so far for the wiring. Okay. I took a break from the intake for a minute. Decided to go ahead and take care of the oil pump. And, well, you can see that RTV there, but for the oil pump, you're just going to put those two gears back together. It shouldn't really matter if those points line up, because they don't. So hopefully that's not important. Yeah, you got 2 long bolts and 3 shorter ones. I believe the 2 long bolts go here and here, and then the 3 shorter ones go on those 2 bottom and that top one there. As you can see, I got RTV here. I never put this through bolt in before. You're going to want to put RTV on it because it goes through the timing cover and into the block to pull this all together. So you're going to want to put RTV on it to keep it from leaking out through that hole or getting into the oil pump or water pump. So many pumps. Oh, God, allergies are terrible right now. But yeah, you're going to want to get that through. It's a pretty long bolt, not a lot of thread. The thread at the tip, that's about it. But yeah, that's that. Guess I'm going to go ahead and get back to putting together this thing. My kit came with 2 gaskets for this. You're going to want to use the one that matches that shape and not this one. I don't really know what the difference between them 2 are. Pretty sure that one's for an older engine. I don't know. Gave me a bunch of extra gaskets. I don't know what go to. But yeah. You're going to want to get your bolts in this, put it together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the EGR into this as well. And then bolt it back down to the block. Just because there's not enough clearance for it otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and get that mounted as well. Also, do not forget to do your half moons. I have not forgotten either. But I have not done it yet because I'm not worried about the valve cover right now. So yeah. Alright. Another analogy. Anyway. We're coming along well. I got the upper intake on. Bolted down. For the most part. Missing a bit of hardware, but that's alright. So, when I looked at my old videos and stuff, this blue plug was in the white thing, and the white plug was in the blue thing. I don't know how. I just put it the way I think it's supposed to go. It makes perfect sense that white would go on white, and blue would go on blue, and red would go on red. Why would blue go on white, and white go on blue? I don't know. Maybe this was put together wrong in the past. I don't care. That's how it's going to go now, because the wires don't reach any other way. Got the cold start injector put in, and wired up, hooked up. Got a lot of these vacuum lines on and in place, you know. A lot of these vacuum lines, it makes perfect sense where they go, just because of the lengths and the directions and all that. Some of them, not so much. So that's why, like, this group here is not plugged in right now, because of that reason. I don't know what's supposed to go where yet. So I'm going to have to check that in the book. Got my throttle wired up, so that's working. Everything down here is plugged in. Do not forget your coolant hoses down here. You know, you got that one there. You got another one underneath that goes in sideways. Back there. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can see it now. I don't know. Probably can't. I'll just try and get as many angles in as possible. That one right there. I need to get the hose clamp on it. That one goes in. That one has to go in. And as I said, a lot of this stuff, it makes perfect sense where it goes. Hopefully I don't miss any vacuum lines. Woo-woo! Vacuum lines. Yay. We all love those. Okay. I need to make a quick update. You see the EGR back there? There. Yeah, that hose that I said that I thought would go into those two, it does not. It goes into the EGR on a side thing. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not. Get some light in there, maybe. Yeah, there it is. Right there. Right in the center of the screen. That's where it goes on the EGR. Okay. We're putting in the distributor right now because I want to put in the half moons. So I figure I'll go ahead and just record this important bit of information. On your distributor, you will find a little drilled mark. Let me see if I can get it to focus on that. You can probably see the little dot right there. Probably. But yeah, you're going to want to look for it. And you want it to be lined up pretty well, pointed at the #1 spark plug thing. Mine was screwed up a bit, so I had it pointed to what should have been #1, but it was pointed to #3. So like this would normally be #1. My distributor cap says 3 there. I still have it to #1 spark plug, so it doesn't really matter that much. Just make sure you got it pointed to the right thing. Like, #1 for me is right here. So I got #1 going to #1. But yeah, make sure that's right. Stick it in there. You're gonna want to have it You're gonna want to have it set a little bit back from where it's supposed to go, because it's gonna rotate when you put it in. So it'll rotate to the right spot when you put it in, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that's in. That's ready to be timed when we get the motor running. Right now I'm about to put some oil in there, you know, because if I don't do it now, then by the time that this thing's ready to go, I'll be super excited and forget to put oil in it, and then I'll run it without oil and blow everything up and hate myself. So I got myself some oil, measured out. Just gonna pour it in there. Alright guys, another day, another entry. As you can see, I got myself a new harmonic balancer bolt. Tony nabbed it from his work. Got that in, had to trim it a little bit, but that's about it. The torque rating is 116 pounds. We could not get that torque gun at least in there. So we got good old breaker bar and crank pulley holder combination. I'll probably put the link in the description for this thing. Obviously we didn't get it like this. This is after a machine shop went in there and worked on it. I actually just sprayed it down with some spray paint today. Keep it from rusting. But yeah. My harmonic balancer pulley's on. I got this belt on earlier, before we tightened it down. Kind of stupid, but whatever. Guess I'll go ahead and put the rest of my belts on. Actually, let me just go ahead and show you guys the torque ratings for everything. Get yourselves a good look at that. Alright. Again, if you can get that book, I'd recommend it. It's pretty helpful, because combined with general information and a couple YouTube clips, you can figure out what's what with it. This is also extremely helpful. Again, if you don't have it, get yourself a good look at it. Alright guys, radiator's in. Got my coolant hoses hooked up. Got my 2 bolts in, one here, because that one's was never there, and this one's broken off. Talk about bad luck. Alright, we're in the final stretch. Obviously, I gotta put coolant in here. And by coolant, I mean just water for the first round. I'm gonna have to drain it. Gonna have to do a coolant flush. Just like how I'm gonna have to do an oil change after running this thing for maybe an hour or so. Maybe even not that long, 30 minutes. But, I mean, is what it is. Okay, this might be the first start.
Kablooey!
Pretty much. I need to get
We need to stand back. Something's gonna go bang bang. If you hear anything, it might be my shorts first.
Alright.
Waiting on you, motherfucker. Not sounds so great, Jay. You don't have something hooked up.
Well, that should be coming. Alright, take 2.
Dosages. Oh my God. Paco. Ah, la 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 la. Mexican guy's Toyota. Well, Jay, the battery's dead. Oh,
I shouldn't have kept running the freaking radio.
that's that's the second try. We're gonna work on the third next. Come on, Sanchez.
Alright.
Take 3. Alright, don't rev the engine, just let it idle.
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably rev on its own.
Yeah, I probably have a vacuum leak somewhere.
Try it again.
Take more.
Oh, shit. Alright.
Ready?
Yeah. Man, damn battery's so fucking dead. Alright. Yep. Hey, I got it, Jay. I know what the problem is, Jay. Did you adjust your valves?
What do you mean? Compression tester. Alright. Another day. Another entry. In this saga. I'm gonna take the valve cover off and we're gonna check our clearances and stuff. Because, you know, we did the head gasket. I lapped the valves. So many things I could have changed that adjustment. So we're gonna see if it's sticking or anything. I'll get this off. Alright guys, valve cover is off and we are ready to begin adjustment of the valves. So, you're going to want your thing at top dead center, compression stroke on the first. You'll know that if the cams are pointed down on number 1, sorry about that, and the number 4 rockers are tight. Intake is going to be 0.008. Exhaust is going to be 0.012. I'm going to go, I've already broke this lock nut loose. So I'm going to go ahead, slide this in. Now, you want it to be a little snug. Like you want to feel pressure, but you don't want it to be tight. If that makes sense. So I'm going to just go in, tighten that up until it touches. Maybe a little bit tighter than that. Back my lock nut back. A little bit. Alright, this is a two-handed job. But basically you get the point, you know. You back off your lock nut. You tighten that up until it is touching that and it's a little bit snug. You know, you can feel a pretty good amount of resistance there, but not like it can't move. And then you just hold the screw in place, get the wrench tighten that lock nut down nice and good. And that's done. Alright, I'm on the exhaust side now. Figured I'd go ahead and show you guys what good resistance looks like. You know, I'm not putting an excessive amount of force to try and move it, but I still have to put a pretty decent amount of force to move it. Like that. That is a bit of clackety-clack. I don't generally care for clackety-clack, but I mean, that's what that site told me. Several sites told me, because I did cross-track. Now, top dead center on cylinder 1. Generally, it's going to say cylinder 1, but really, you can do this one, then the intake for cylinder 2, and the exhaust for cylinder 3. Then you'll rotate it again to top dead center, like around 360 degrees, and that'll allow you to get this one, and these two. I don't know if you saw that. This one, and these two. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with these, rotate it, do those, and I'll meet back up with you guys then.
Kablooey!
So, what'd you do different? But I thought it was a battery issue.
Oh, we also charged the battery.
Oh.
Should I try and give it a little bit of gas, like open the throttle plate?
No, I got it. I'm gonna spray some juice in there. No, I'll open the throttle for you. Yeah, the face of defeat. I don't know, man.
You know, I realized having the spark plugs, might help.
Okay, J-Dog. Take 43, I think. I'm not even sure.
I looked it up earlier today. It's actually supposed to have between 141 psi and 171 psi in this motor.
Wait. Okay.
All right. Hit it. Are you spraying?
No, well, first I was going to see if it was going to run on it.
So I could figure out what was 360
Right again.
rotation. Hit it. That's a lot better.
Man, it actually is turning, so that's a good sign. I think it just ain't getting any fuel. Go. Well, you got to keep the starter going, Jay. Do it again.
Ready then. Yay.
Do it again.
Yay. A little longer that time.
Do it again, Jay. Alright, do it again, Jay.
Do I want to try and put gas in the tank? Maybe it's not picking up. Because it's reading empty.
Go ahead. Alright. No more starting fluid. We gotta get the... Where's your fuel rail at? We need to check for pressure. See if it's getting anything.
How do we do that?
Well, there's got to be a bleeder screw or Maybe we'll have to take the banjo fitting off or something. Oh, take 532.
Honestly, I've lost count too.
You don't rev it up now. If it does fire up, just let it idle. Hopefully we got some fuel up to it.
I mean, it's reading quarter tank.
What I'm saying is do you got the fuel pump plugged in and stuff? So is it going to?
I'm like 99% sure it's plugged in, but let me make sure.
Hopefully it might have some air in the system. It's got to get out. Need to stick the charger on here because I'm sure we're gonna eat this battery juice up.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
You got it running?
Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, J-Dog, stop it. Do you have any? I don't think you have any. This is
crap,
you
that's
know.
the cold start injector.
Well, you don't. I don't know if you got any copper washers in there. I don't see any.
I didn't think it would turn on.
What do you mean you don't? You didn't think it? You were just gonna put it together and just hope some other day you'll need to put them on?
Yeah.
What an idiot!
I couldn't find it.
Now you got gas all over the engine.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's covered. Oh, it's just dripping everywhere.
Oh, no.
Well, don't light no matches. Don't smoke your cigarettes right now.
All right. Let's see it.
Which one? Where are we at? What number?
I got nothing. All
Uh,
right, I got some
we don't know. Go.
gasket material in there.
Gasket. We got some. Oh my God. We got some fire, fuel, explosion. Ready? Whoa, whoa. Oh shit! Man, where's the idle at? Just over 1,000. And it sounds good, Jay. Well, I do got some kind of.
This is pretty great. Pretty great feeling, huh?
Not too bad for your first time, huh?
Not bad. Is it leaking?
Who cares? You know, for your first time, I don't hear any clacking.
Want to test that now?
I do hear, I keep hearing this little tink somewhere.
Blowing crap into my eyes.
Man, there's a lot of dirt and dust everywhere. Not bad, Jay.
What is that? Oh, crap. Well, of course it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Does this scene look familiar?